This book starts the fourth and final trilogy in the Cirque du Freak series. It's the Vampire Destiny trilogy. Oddly enough, there's no vampire stuff in this book. Darren and Harkat take a break from the vampire war to go explore a fantasy land with dragons.
Argofunk Book Review, Argofunk Book Review.
The various characters make plans. Vancha will return to Vampire Mountain. Debbie and Alice will help hide the truth about vampires from normal humans. The women return 6 months later, saying they want to form an army of humans to help with the vampire war. Only they can't do that without taking the long journey to Vampire Mountain. I'm sure I've said this before, but if vampires had cell phones, this war would be over in half the time. Ivana the Witch returns to say the final battle with Steve will happen a long time from now. I'm guessing it will be in the final book of the series. This gives Darren plenty of time to revisit his friends in the Cirque du Freak. They help him learn how to cope with the death of Mr. Krebsley. Mr. Tiny appears with the Grand Quest, which takes up the entire book. Darren and Harkat have to travel through a hostile world for 3 months to reach the Lake of Souls, where Harkat's true identity will be revealed. The first step of the quest is to kill a black panther to the west. Mr. Tiny drops them off 2 weeks' walk away from the panther, which is rude. Couldn't he have taken them closer? Our heroes try to lure the panther into a spike pit, but the panther's too clever. It lures our heroes out into the open, then attacks. With some luck, Harkat manages to throw the panther onto the spikes. The panther has a hollow tooth. Its stomach has a map saying the next step is to take gelatinous globes from underneath a giant toad. The 6-foot toad eats crows and has alligator bodyguards, naturally. Harkat distracts the alligators while Darren gets the globes. The plan works until the toad sees him. The animals all attack Darren. Right before he dies, he's saved by Ivana. She guides them for 11 days and says the next part of the quest is to get a net and liquid from the Temple of the Grotesque. After Ivana leaves, they're attacked by a dragon. They swim underwater to avoid the dragon's fires. The dragon grabs them in its talons and flies up. Harkat slips free, while Darren yells at the dragon to stop. Amazingly, it does. The dragon drops Darren, and I really hope the next book explains why dragons take orders from Darren, because this book doesn't. Darren wakes up 2 days later. Harkat found a new friend. He's Spitz Adams, a pirate from the 1930s. Spitz has the net they need. He constantly drinks poutine. It sounds like he drinks 5 glasses a day. He never refills his jug of poutine, so I have no idea how it doesn't run out. The group goes to the Temple of the Grotesque. The Grotesque is a giant snake with a human face covered with human hands and hair, and it's all sweaty. A tribe of pink-haired people called the Kulashkas worship the monster. They perform a ritual where they feed a child to the Grotesque in exchange for 2 vials of poison. Darren's caught right after he grabs the poison. It looks like he and Harkat might be able to negotiate their way out of trouble, but Spitz ruins everything by unexpectedly attacking. He throws a vial of poison, which explodes and destroys the building. Luckily, our heroes escape to an underground tunnel full of spiders. It leads to a nuclear bomb shelter. Inside is a note from Mr. Tiny saying the Lake of Souls is nearby, to the south. What he doesn't say is that the lake is guarded by 5 dragons. This would be a great time for Darren to try out the giving orders to dragons thing again, but alas, he does not. Our heroes put all their items together to make bombs. These bombs keep the dragons at bay long enough so they can reach the Lake of Souls. Fortunately, the dragons can't come within 8 feet of the lake due to a magical barrier. Spitz goes mad, or maybe he was mad all along, as he reveals he's a cannibal. Again, Spitz ruins everything with an unexpected attack. He destroys the magic barrier, and a dragon kills him with fire. Darren fights off the dragons while Harkat finds his lost soul. In a surprise, we learn Harkat is really Curtis Malt, the vampire trader who died in Book 6. Mr. Tiny explains Harkat's not just a ghost, he's a time-traveling ghost. That's how Harkat came to exist after Curtis' death, while still existing before Curtis' death. Curta briefly talks with Darren and Harkat, and then he dies. For real this time. Harkat and Darren return to the real world. That's when Harkat realizes they did not travel between worlds, they traveled through time. The world with dragons and monster animals is Earth, about 20 years in the future. Can Darren win the vampire war and prevent the evil future? The end. Post-book follow-up. I like this book. It's very different for this series. It's interesting to see the heroes go on an epic journey where they fight monsters and solve riddles. The second time I read the book, I enjoyed it less. I realized that pretty much all they do is fight monsters and travel through empty landscapes. The panther was the only monster they actually killed. With all the others, someone steps in to save their butts at the last minute. I didn't like Spitz. I thought including him was a weird decision. Some readers will probably find him funny. I would have preferred a character who's relevant to the story. This is the longest book in the series, which surprises me. It feels a little like filler because there is no way that robbing toads in the evil future could be relevant to the vampire war in the present. Several reviewers said, no, this book is far more relevant to the series than you'd expect, so I will withhold judgment on that front until I read the next two books. Overall, I'd say it was an interesting break from the series, but now I'm ready to get back to the vampire stuff. I give Cirque du Freak number 10, The Lake of Souls, an 8 out of 10.